So here on the Speltz homestead, we have just recently upgraded one of our tools in the kitchen. And by upgraded, we went from a 3 mini donut maker to a 7 mini donut maker. We do have the Dash brand mini donut maker now, and it's brand new here, so we're just going to wipe out all of the donut making areas with a damp cloth here, just make sure we get all the residues out from the manufacturing, and make sure it's just clean before we get started here. So, got it all cleaned up. Now the directions do say you need to plug it in. Now it does not have an on-off switch. The on-off switch is the plug. So you plug it in and it starts heating up immediately. There is this little light my daughter is pointing to there that turns on when it is heating and it turns off when it is ready to go. We personally like to make our own version of the classic mini donut recipe. It's got a little bit more flavor, we feel, than the one in the book, but it's very similar. So you to make your two areas of ingredients, the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. My daughter here is making the dry ingredients. She added 1.5 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 cup of sugar. I am making the wet ingredients. I had 1 egg there. I had 4 tablespoons of melted butter that you want to make sure you cool a little before you put it in with your 1/2 cup of cold milk. Just whisk all that together really, really well. You want to make sure you get that egg broken down. You don't want chunks of egg floating throughout your mini donuts. So I just whisk that up really nicely there. Then we add a teaspoon of vanilla. And then we're going to add our secret ingredient that gives it the flavor that we really love. As you can see, we're just making sure everything's very well incorporated in the dry mixture. We're going to add our vanilla here, mix that in, and then we're going to add our secret ingredient here. It's not really super secret, it's actually just almond extract. And we usually add it about a ratio of half of whatever the vanilla we put in. So we're adding 1/2 teaspoon of almond there. Just gives it a little bit more pop to the flavor. We like that here. So we're going to mix it all in. Then we're going to add the dry ingredients, so the wet ingredients, and mix those together. It is going to make a very sticky batter, not runny at all. So you're going to actually need to scoop it around to work with it. So here we go. We're going to just put all the flour in at once. It's very easy recipe to make here. Like I said, it's just a secret ingredient is our almond here. And of course, we use organic flour. We do have organic AP flour here that we like for this. It's a bit lighter than our organic whole wheat flour. So we do use some of our special AP flour for this kind of recipe. And of course, the egg came from our chickens and the milk came from our goats. So it was organic raw milk that we're using here, and we've just been loving that from our goats. They do a great job for us. So we're going to just mix this all in. Like I said, as you can see, it's pretty sticky batter. So when we're going to put it into our pastry bag to put it into the donut maker itself, we are going to have to scrape it off. We do use a disposable pastry bag that comes where you can cut the end off in whatever size hole that you want. So we cut it off just to the right size to fit, so it fills that donut cavity there that we're going to fill to cook it in the maker. It works really well for that. If you don't have a pastry bag, just use a big Ziploc bag. It works great. You just cut the corner off of it and away you go. The pastry bags are just a little bit nicer. They're actually triangle shaped and they're a little thicker plastic. So we use these when we do the donuts. Now my daughter is very skilled with her pastry bag here. She's made a lot of churros and frosted a lot of things. So I let her do this part. She fills in around the circle, being careful not to get any on the center of the circle or you don't really end up with a donut. You kind of end up with a donut hole. And just fill it. It says in the book to do 3/4 full, but we found that doesn't actually fill the cavity when it expands. It doesn't make a full donut. So we do it at least all the way to the top of that rim on the bottom there full, if not a little bit more. And that's been working really, really well. It doesn't overfill it, but it just puffs up to fit the top of that cooker when we're doing it. So she's going to fill in the last one here, and then all you have to do is shut the lid and go. It's very, very simple. As you can see, my daughter is doing it here. The kids can do this on their own, as long as they're old enough to, be aware of the hot cooking surfaces there on the maker. So you just shut it, and it's a very quick cook. It only takes 1.5 minutes. Got our timer going here, and you just wait a few minutes, and 1.5 minutes, and you're done, right? There they are. They're very hot when they come out, obviously. So we use a toothpick to pick them up and put them here on the rack. Now, as you can see, they came out just perfectly browned. They're not always perfectly evenly cooked, perfectly brown everywhere, but they are completely cooked on the inside. They're super delicious, very light, very fluffy. We love this recipe. You can use like a store-bought cake batter, but they become more dense, and we just don't find that as entertaining. So we really like this recipe to get that light, fluffy texture that's almost, like more of your yeast-based donuts that you can get at the store. So here she goes. She's going to fill it in again. You can make 3, 4 at least times with one batch of dough. So it really doesn't take very long to make a whole batch of donuts out of this. And they're just really enjoyable for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack. Whenever you walk by and you find that you want to eat something. They're just perfect size for that, right? So we've really enjoyed making donuts here on the farm. And then we did try to make your classic sugar donut. But since the donuts don't have any oil involved, because this is a nonstick cooker, as you saw, we didn't actually spray the cookie. You don't have to. They just pop right out. So there is no oil involved. And the donuts aren't sticky at the end. So you can put them in sugar, but it doesn't stick. So we've moved on to a glaze, just a frosting glaze that we've really enjoyed here. And it is just, some 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar, half a teaspoon of vanilla. We, of course, throw in 1/4 teaspoon of almond, and then just enough milk or cream to get to that consistency that you want. So we just dunk them in the bowl, get it on one side, and you can always dunk both sides, but we do one side because it's a lot easier, and put them on a cookie tray and we let them dry. So here we go. Breakfast for tomorrow morning, if they make it that long. Mini donuts, glazed, right at home. Perfect snack, and just a lot of fun to make, especially for the kids. Hope you've enjoyed it, and you can try this recipe at your place.